Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be doing something different. Just not necessarily all the way different, just a little bit different. Sometimes you come to my page and you see me do all kinds of things that I've been doing that are just that I'm passionate about. Gaming, you might see me do stand-up. You might have seen some of the comic book trailers that I made for my own comic books. But today we're gonna be doing something a little different. We're going to be talking about my very first comic book. Yeah, the very first comic book that I ever got. I got it way back in the day. And I'm excited to be able to talk to y'all about this because I want to start creating more comic book content. It's something I'm passionate about, so I figured why not make some videos of them, me talking about them and enjoying them just with y'all because I know there's a big comic book community out there, and I'm sure some of y'all share the same interest in me. So let's dive right into it. My very first comic book, it was probably around like 1997, 98, something like that. I was about 7 or 8 years old, and my dad invited me to go to a comic book store with him. We just got our haircuts, and like, let's go to a comic book store. Let's go see what's going on. I've never been to one. My pops took me there, and it blew me away. 'Cause for a while, I didn't even know comic books were like a thing you can buy. I only saw them in cartoons. You know what I mean? I would see cartoon characters, read them on cartoons, but I never knew it was a actual thing. And eventually, Pops took me there, and I looked around the store. It was a huge store. It wasn't small at all. It was humongous. It was possibly one of the biggest stores I've been to at that age. It was huge, and it had long boxes of comic books just set up. And then on the walls, they had toys on the walls. They had Batman toys and X-Men toys and all over the place. And I was just astonished that this was even a thing. This was a store that he just kept from me. He kept this store from me for 8 years. What are we doing? All right, I could have been in here. I could have been wanting to go here for 8 years. You just didn't want me. Yeah, I would have been in here as an infant. It would have been fine. Okay. Anyway, anyway, he showed me the store, and I went in there, and I wanted the toys, but he was like, "You can't get a toy; it's too expensive," which I understood at the time. He was like, "But you can get a comic book. How about that? You buy a comic book. You pick the comic book that you want. I'll buy it." And I was like, "Perfect." And that's exactly what happened. He ended up picking out a X-Men comic book. I don't remember what comic book it was. Um, I wish I remember, but I don't. It was definitely a X-Men comic book. I think it was Weapon X, I think. Wolverine was on the cover. I remember that. But he ended up getting an X-Men comic book, and I ended up getting something that I didn't even know existed. As a kid, there's certain things that I watched that I probably shouldn't have watched, I guess, at 8 years old. I don't know. But it was a good time when I watched it. And when I found something that I watched outside of the comic book that related to the comic book, I was like, I gotta get it. There's more to this play. I gotta get it. I like the movie, so I gotta get it. And Starship Troopers, Brute Creations. All right, Starship Troopers. If you know about the Starship Troopers movie, Starship Troopers movie was a good time. It wasn't meant to be taken serious, but it was a good time. Okay, people make fun of the movie from quoting the lines, but it was a good time, bro. Regardless, and I saw this movie when I was young, and I went to the comic book store and was like, this is an actual book. What? More limbs getting bit off, and more I gotta get it. I gotta get it. And I ended up getting this book, man. This book is incredible. It's still good. I liked it a lot. I didn't know too much about like the whole culture of comic books, but I knew that this is one of the books that I wanted. Picked it up immediately and enjoyed it just based off the fact that this cover right here is amazing. Incredible, because this was the book that got me in. The blood spilling, the green blood spilling out here, and the red blood at the bottom down there. Loved it. I was all the way in. This reminded me from a scene out of the movie for sure. The huge battle at the end. It reminded me of that, and I got attracted to the book off the rip of that. And then I opened up the book for the first time, and this was the first panel that was in there. This was the first panel that was in there. A bug breaching a ship, stabbing the hand down through the ship while biting the guy's hand. I opened this book up and saw this panel and was like, that's what we doing? Off the rip? Like first page? There's no introduction to nobody. There's no there is no high. There's nothing. There's just blood already. It's already carnage. You know what I mean? And it puts you exactly in the seat of being on the ship itself. And that's what I like the most about it. I was impressed off the rip. I didn't think as I read this that I should be reading a book like this. But it was like one of those things where it's like as a kid, he was like, I shouldn't be reading this, but this is a good time. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna enjoy this while I can. And I did. I read it forever, dude. I read it like I at least read it like once a week for a while. And I fell in love with this book. This is one of my favorite panels in the book, as well as one of the panels at the back here. This panel at the end, when I got to this panel, this is one of my favorite panels in the book. I thought it was amazing. I thought the artwork was cool. I thought the depiction of it was good. The coloring, all that stuff was great. And everybody really contributed to the book itself. And I love what they did with the book. Written by Jan Starned, pencils by Tommy Lee Edwards, inked by Robert Campanella, and covered by Den Bobas. The book follows Lieutenant Gene Roschek as a teacher at a college when, in the middle of teaching class, huge bugs start to raid the class, raid the whole school, actually. The whole school gets destroyed by bugs. All the students all the students start to get slaughtered by these bugs in the middle of class. The whole school is raided. It is insane what's going on. It's pandemonium. Gene's students were even murdered, except one. There was one student named Kurt Allen that Gene was able to help escape in the midst of the carnage that was going on. Soon after they escaped from the attack, Gene was back in action as a lieutenant, where he was over the squad, including Rico, Dizzy, and a student that turned to a soldier, Kurt Allen, months later after the attack. This book gives you all kinds of information that isn't necessarily in the movie. Like, how did Gene lose his arm? For a while, I wondered that. Why did Gene have a metal arm in the movie? What happened to his arm? This book explains that to you. It gives you a lot of little Easter eggs that you've seen or wondered about in the movie in just one book. It's very dope. I like where it started and I like how it ended. And they did an amazing job on it. They really got me in as a kid, 8 years old. I became an instant fan of Starship Troopers at the time. Granted, this was the only book that I got of the Starship Troopers collection. I would love to have more. I gotta find them, and that's gonna be one of the things that I hope to do to be able to bring it to the channel. The fact that I find the rest of this saga, this whole storyline, because when I read this book, I immediately was like, this was one of the universes that I was just into now. I just was I was like, I'm invested in this universe now. And I wanted more. I started watching the Starship Troopers cartoon. There was a cartoon that came on back in the day. I don't know if you remember it. It was a cartoon that came on at like 6 a.m. right before school. So I would wake up a little early, watch an episode, and then go to school and talk to my friends about it. It became a whole thing. I would do little comic strips of Starship Troopers. That became a thing, and it really cemented and let me know that this medium of art is really something that is intriguing to me. You know what I mean? But at that time though, I didn't have a job. I didn't have money. I didn't have none of that shit. I didn't know. I thought it was like it was almost a luxury to get a comic book. I didn't know. And so this was the first comic book that I ever got. You know, I kept it intact. I kept it in as good as condition as I could. And then after like 2 years or something like that, it kind of just went in the back of my closet and it just sat there. And I never touched the comic book again. This was the first and only comic book that I ever got. And after maybe like a year, like I said, maybe a year or two, it was put in a specific spot and it just sat there. And I completely forgot about comic books. Up until about 8 years later. 8 years later. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. We're going to talk about the next comic book series that I got into. This is a big one for me. So I'm excited to be sharing this with y'all. If you are a comic book fan, comment below some of your favorite series. Also, tell me what the first comic book that you ever read. Comment that below. I'm curious. I want to know what got you into comic books if you like comic books as well. Thank y'all for watching. Comment and subscribe. Like, do what you do. Just enjoy the video, man. I got more coming, more comic book content dropping. I'm excited to do this because I got a ton of comic books to show y'all and tell y'all about and put y'all on, okay? Because there's a lot of them out there that a lot of people are not reading or telling me about, and I'm just finding out. Thank you once again for watching. I appreciate it. I'm out. Peace.